Our final Assembly Speaker is Erik Legried.
Well, y'all, the list is getting really long at this point. I do my best to keep a mental tally of the stuff I'm supposed to do after leaving Assembly, and frankly, I've heard it all at this point. I have to save the environment, stress less, laugh more, be myself, support GLBT rights, stop racism, procrastinate less, be tolerant of other religions, break down gender stereotypes, serve more, understand war, play more Pokemon, don't smoke pot, join debate, and let's certainly not forget my need to be a Republican. Thank you, Mick. But as I compare this aggregate of 7-minute sales pitches, I continue to wonder, well, why haven't I changed? I've heard extremely compelling speeches, but by the time I blitz the doors after hearing Assembly dismissed, as you will shortly, it is out of my mind and I move on. So my question as I assembled my Assembly speech was, how do I get your attention? I began thinking of some shock value speeches to at least get everyone listening, and began writing my why everyone should do LSD speech, which, by the way, the Alice in Wonderland within me sort of believes. But the best possible result from that would be a bunch of tripped up high schoolers the next day, which isn't really my point. So I started looking at some more profound topics, perhaps a speech on feminism or animal rights, but I found myself in a similar dilemma, since those two would just add to the checklist discussed earlier, but would not get you to reevaluate it. So my goal for the remaining time is to get you to think about everything every past and future speaker has said or will say. So really the point of my speech is encouraging you to be a tad more schizophrenic and talk to yourself just a little bit more. Engage in internal dialogue and really question why you do the stuff you do. Be deliberate, choose to act. But that just begs the question, what do you do right now then? I'm under the impression that most of you lead some form of a life, and hence you choose to do stuff. And absent some extreme circumstances, most of you intend to do the stuff you do. So the question is perhaps not about how you act, but how you don't act. The inability to be deliberate and the collective ability to look away. I feel it only appropriate to start quoting someone smart instead of going off on tangents, so let's take a quick lesson from Elie Wiesel, Holocaust survivor, recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, and most importantly and above all, a human being, who says that the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness, it's indifference. The opposite of faith is not heresy, it's indifference. And the opposite of life is not death, it's indifference. Indifference. Despite its relatively vacuous nature, the word finds itself embodied all around us. It is that awkward feeling that fills the silent void when you ignore a racist comment. It is the gnawing feeling that you should say something when you laugh at the sexist joke. And it is the eerie feeling that your money might have a better cause when you pay $4.52 for a venti white chocolate mocha at Starbucks. Despite our action-packed lives, we all have some inaction to reconsider. But whoa, you can't go dissing my coffee like that, the bystander says as they throw up their defenses in a vapid attempt to shred any trace of accountability. Among the first weapons drawn is the argument that I alone can't make a difference. The debater within sheds a metaphorical tear due to the level your logic sinks to, and mind you, people around the world are literally crying or more likely dying because of it too. You can make a difference. Certainly people will die tomorrow whether you buy your coffee or not. Similarly, stopping a joke will not stop sexism or racism, but that is one less joke, and it is $4 more. Our obsession with completion, the lovely check mark next to our goal, has left us in a painfully apathetic and closed-off mindset that is blissfully unaware of how stuff gets done. Perpetuators of violence and immorality ride on the fact that bystanders surround us and prefer to look away than engage in the staring contest. Really, though, you do have power, you can do something, and I really hope you do. After years of delicious ignorance, I realized that meat consumption was not consistent with my ethical beliefs and choose to be a vegetarian. Similarly, make me a sandwich and other discriminatory jokes are not funny and perpetuate norms that are incompatible with the world I want to live in. So I've done two things. I've become a vegetarian and I've stopped making discriminatory jokes. Two things, and I am a long way from done, but I am too closer. That is progress. It can be overwhelming to look at the immorality in the world and question your role and your responsibility. However, rather than give up in the face of a looming plethora of obligations, pick a couple and act. Do not be indifferent, act. However, I am well aware of what the post-assembly chatter looks like, and if my observations represent a norm at all, you will most likely discuss random stylistic elements of speeches and ignore content. And to help you prepare, I'll quickly give you some food for thought the kind starving people don't get the chance to chew on. Notice I spoke relatively quickly. I speak with little to no sense as to how a comma is supposed to be used, and my speech wanders from point to point as aimlessly as your conversation will. Comment on that, and you shut down. You turn on auto drive, and you succumb to indifference. But if a single word of my speech rang true to you, let it be that just one act makes a difference. I do not expect a chorus of exalted moral beings to leave this room, and I do expect to see the regular rush of people charge the doors. But I hope that each of you picks one aspect of your life and take 2 minutes. Maybe those 2 minutes you wait for them to make your coffee or your burrito. Maybe the moment before you pretend you're 18 on the internet. Maybe even the brief moment that you'll follow tradition and clap for the speech. Just one moment. That is the difference that makes indifference disappear.